Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another volume of Celebrating Creativity. We will hear some amazing presenters share out how they like to celebrate the creativity of others, whether it be their friends, their colleagues, their students, their families, and however they do like to do that. So we do have some great people on today. And thank you so much for joining us live, or if you're watching the recording, thanks so much for watching the recording too. So the first presenter today is Steph Rothstein, and she's not here with us live, but she has shared a recording, and so I will share that out with you now. But again, thank you so much for joining. And if you are here live, it'll be great if in the chat you can share out where you're joining us from and how to contact you. If you want to share out your Twitter handle, that is very cool too. Okay, so give me a moment. Here we go. Okay, so please enjoy.
Hi, everyone. My name my school district in Santa Clara, California. My role is that I am overseeing innovation. So I'm an innovation education leader for Santa Clara Unified School District. I serve 31 schools, K-12,
Okay,
so a variety of educators.
I need to keep myself on the screen apparently so you can actually hear stuff. Otherwise that's super awkward and very sad. So I will try again. Hold on. Okay, let me try again. Amazing times. Here we go. All right. Hopefully the audio works okay for you all now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Rothstein, and I wanted to show you something that I started doing in my school district that has grown into a really big project that people are excited about. When I was talking with Mel, she was asking me about how is it that I celebrate others. And so this is how I celebrate others here in my school district in Santa Clara, California. My role is that I am overseeing innovation. So I'm an innovation education leader for Santa Clara Unified School District. I serve 31 schools, K-12, so a variety of educators. And I'm working on how do I support projects related to our strategic plan that have to do with innovation. Okay, so one of the things that I started doing this year, I call it #EdTech Celebrations. And I'm going in each month and I'm celebrating educators who are using apps in a way that helps to grow student learning and then helps both themselves and students specifically. So I'm going to show you, I have a few videos that I've made, and that's really helped us grow this. So I'm going to show you a video that helps to explain what this is. So here we go. Hi, everyone. Steph Rothstein here, Innovation TOSA at Santa Clara Unified. I'm so excited to be launching our EdTech Celebrations project that I'm doing for the entire school year. So every month, we're highlighting teachers who are our top users for all different district apps in the district. And each month, I'll be coming in we'll be doing some filming for a couple of the apps. It's been awesome already to go into teachers' rooms and celebrate their great usage. The goal of this project is really to celebrate teachers who are doing great work on behalf of our students and our district and our classrooms, and to showcase them and highlight them and help others to know how you can integrate those apps into your own classroom, and to help parents to know and celebrate people who are doing great work and help our schools celebrate them. So I'd like to just wish them all a congratulations, and I cannot wait to get into more classrooms. Okay, so that's basically it. I'm showing you right now a website that's internal to our school district, but I'll show you some pieces that are external. So that's why I'm here showing you this way. But each month I post up, I make this in Canva. I also make all of our little cards that I give out to everyone. I'll show you each of those pieces, but each month I put together an overview, and I'll share that in a minute. when I email people that there are top users of something, I gather that data from each of our EdTech partners. So I'm looking at district supported apps and then our top users of that. I reach out and send them a celebratory email along with the principal at their school. And then I gather from them, I ask them in what way has this impacted them and impacted student learning. And then I put those takeaways on this website here, and I do that each month. In addition to that, our PR department here in our school district partners with me and comes with me. And for 2 of the apps, of all these apps that we are celebrating, they do a district video that goes on our district YouTube channel and gets showcased out. And so that is here, and I'll make sure that Mel has the link to it. But this one is public, where you could see the introduction that I showed you, and then you can see for each app who we've highlighted. So this was going to be back for our September months. Our October ones are about to post, and then I'll be delivering for our November people in December. So essentially the way that this has worked is I used Canva and I created these celebration cards. And so I did that, here they are. I'm just going to show you what they look like. And so we have these celebration cards where it has our district logo. And then for each app, it shows what they're getting delivered. And then I put a little celebration thing about each of the people that are getting celebrated that particular month. So this was for October. And then here were our rock stars for Seesaw for October. We had a team that I got celebrated, or that was chosen for that month. And again, when I say chosen, I looked at the data. So I'm celebrating people that really are our top users. And I look at a variety of aspects to look at top usage. It isn't just amount of time that they're on something or amount of things that they have done. It really also is related to student interaction and teacher interaction. So there's all different ways to look at usage, and then getting into their classrooms and celebrating them and talking to each of them has really been true joy. And so then with this, after I have this done, then what I post both internally and externally, so internally on the site, is I post this each month. So I'll show you what this looks like. So that's what I post up that shows everyone. And then we're doing these videos that I had mentioned where we get a little bit more in-depth understanding, and we can talk to people and I can explain what the apps are about along with celebrating them so that people can learn from them. I'll show you just a quick snippet of this public video. Hello, Stephanie Rothstein here, Innovation TOSA for 7th grade 85, and we're here once again to celebrate an awesome teacher who is using Seesaw in her classroom. So happy to be here at Hughes Elementary School to celebrate Seesaw usage. Seesaw is an app where teachers can communicate with parents and students can also participate, showcase their learning, and we're so excited to feature a teacher here at Hughes Elementary. So congratulations. This is from all of us at the district office and the whole district, but just saying thank you for all of your students and for using Seesaw and implementing it to hopefully help support their learning. Yes. So that's what they're doing now. Oh my gosh, I'd love to hear more. Yes, they're playing a game. Okay, let's see it. Yeah, I'd love to. There's Seesaw swag and there's shirts from them, all of it. So I am a huge fan of Seesaw. Like for 7 years, I've been doing it. So since before it was like a huge thing, and so I will proudly wear a t-shirt. And can I ask So I'm going to pause it for today, but if you continue to watch that video, it shows she talks all about how she utilizes it in her classroom. So I would say the main pieces that I like to think about, sorry, let me come back to this site. The main pieces that I like to think about when it comes to EdTech celebrations really are that it is about authentically celebrating people for the work that they are doing and the impact that they are having on students. And that's just what the notes that I have written say to them. So if we go back here, these notes, what I want you to see is, I should show you here, the notes that they are given. Some of the text that's in it, it says like, you are one of the top users of whatever app it is. Your students used it and I explained how. Thank you for supporting student learning and growth and so much more. We hope you have a wonderful school year. Thank you again for all your hard work for students and for being an innovative EdTech using educator. I give them a hashtag. And so the goal really is that we are authentically honoring them for what they're doing and the impact that they're making in the classroom. And it's helped me to get into a variety of spaces. It's helped people to be much more open in terms of then understanding who they can go to. So when I post people up and I shout them out in our weekly and monthly newsletters and CNI information that goes out for a district, then people know, let me go talk to Melissa about Seesaw. And so it's helped to build partnerships and collaborations, and people are celebrating one another. It really has had a really great impact in my school district. And if that helps you, I'm happy to talk to you more. You are more than welcome to find me on Twitter at StephRothEDU. I'm also there on Instagram. I'm more active on Twitter for sure. And message me, reach out to me. You can also find me at StephRothEDU.com, and you can email me there. So I also have a website, StephRothEDU.com, if that helps too. So I'm happy to chat with you more. I'll be presenting about this at lots of upcoming conferences, and I'm so happy to hear and learn from all of the other presenters. And I just want to say a big shout out and thank you to Mel for having me. Bye, and thank you.
Okay. Well, there you go. Thank you so much to Steph. I know she's not here live, but appreciate her recording out a celebration of like how she likes to celebrate others in her district. So next up, I'm going to bring up Jenallee, which has two amazing people. Let's put them up here. Here we go. Okay, so welcome to both of you. Really excited you have to share, and I'm going to take myself off the screen and enjoy.
Awesome. Well, thank you for inviting us to be here today, Mel. We're so excited. I'm Jenny Long.
I'm Celie Clark.
And we are
Jenallee.
Oh,
which side?
Jenallee.
We never get it right on, screen like this. It's always
it's been a while. Awesome. Well, we're so excited when you asked us to share about ways to celebrate others and creativity. That is definitely something that is near and dear to our heart. And we have a few ideas that we want to share with you. So I've got some links. Lee's got some links. So I'll be putting them in the chat, and we're just going to share for, let's see, I'm watching the time so we don't take up anybody else's time. So
we could talk for 2 hours. That's really bad. We were joking about this, behind screen, but it's true. Okay, so maybe I'll share my screen and we can kick off with our teacher rockstar shout outs. So Jenny and I have been together for 6 years, going on, I guess 7 years now, doing EdTech. And one of the things that we love doing is celebrating creativity. I think you guys know, this is just the way the world we live in, is celebrating what others are doing and also sharing it out and letting other people know, because we know we don't have good ideas, but all of us together have good ideas. And so being able to share that with the world is really important to us, and we're really passionate about it. And one of the things that we do is rockstar teachers at our new district. So we just moved to a new district this year. And one of the ways we shout out teachers is we create, similar to actually Stephanie, we create rockstar cards for them. And we email both the principal and the teacher, share the rockstar card, and just celebrate the awesomeness that they're doing in their classrooms. And then we put that in our monthly newsletter that goes out to everyone in the district, just to share with the district some awesome things that are happening. So we kind of want to give you an example of those. So let me present my screen real quick.
I put the link to, so we put everything, of course, you guys probably do. And if you don't, you need to check out Wakelet. So we put all of our links and resources typically in a Wakelet. That way we can just share out with one link. So I shared in the chat the link to the Wakelet that we've been just started. So it's kind of new. So we just kind of share out our Rockstar teachers. So that's there for you guys to view.
All right, just a second. Sorry. I just got a new computer, y'all. I feel super fancy because I upgraded to a Mac, and now I have to like unlock everything to let it work. But hopefully I did it. Okay. Okay. Can you guys see my screen, I hope? Maybe? Are you still there?
I don't think so. Not yet.
Oh, let's try again. Maybe it'll let me try again. Present. Share screen. All right. This is it. I feel it. This is the moment.
It's going to happen.
Oh, it's not. It wants me to restart Google. So I guess I won't share my screen. But Jenny put it in the Wakelet. So Jenny, do you want to share your screen?
Oh, sure.
You got this, Jenny. Okay, while she's doing that, I also want to share another way that we love sharing creativity or celebrating creativity. Actually, it's just what I just did, but I love gushing over creativity. I don't know if you guys are like that. I am formerly a librarian, but one of the things like just happened yesterday in our office, Brent and I were playing with Google and trying to make it interlink within the outline, and we got it to happen. And like we like cheered like dorks. I mean, we were the biggest nerds in the room, but we had so much fun just gushing. And so it was a lot of fun. I think that's a big piece too, is just gushing with people over awesome stuff that's happening around them. Okay, go for it, Jenny.
Can you see that?
I can. Yay.
Okay. All right. So this is the Wakelet collection. So Celie is an amazing creative designer, and she creates all of our presentations and graphics. So if you ever wonder who is the mastermind behind our designs, it is definitely Celie. She is so talented. I make sure it gets out there. You create it, and then it gets out there.
So Canva account forever. It was just me.
So this is our collection, and then we have a template. So we have this template link, and then we just kind of go in and say, like, if there's a teacher that's been doing something awesome, this particular teacher was doing some great things with his students. And I think, what was the program he was using, Slee? Do you remember?
He's actually a first grade teacher, and it was the very beginning of the year, and we were just getting him and his students logged into everything. And so like we were so proud of him for being so ambitious and just kicking off the year right and getting them into good habits and good practices. So we were just extra hands helping him get started.
And this is one of our STEM teachers. We've been working with her kiddos on doing a podcast, and we'll share a little bit about that too. So we'll move on, but this is just kind of how we have gathered our little Rockstar templates that we create, and then we put them in our newsletter that we share out every month too. You want to talk about the podcast real quick since I've got that one up, Slee?
Yes, I would. Okay. So one of the things our superintendent has tasked us with this year is actually doing digital citizenship and coming up with a program and running it. And she also wants it to be very intentional, which we love that. And we want it to be authentic. So we want our students to own it. And one of the ways that we've incorporated a podcast into our digital citizenship program is that our students talk about different ways that people are using tech for good. And they are shouting out all kinds of people from all around the world. In fact, we were super excited and honored to have Wakelet stop by our school not too long ago from Manchester to Texas. And our students got to interview Jamil on the podcast, which was really incredible. I just love that our student voices are being heard and being shared in a way that is celebrating technology in such a good way. And they're able to see different ways that adults and kids are using technology and talk about it in a space that's safe, but also heard by a lot of different people. So I think it's a really great opportunity for them.
And we were also fortunate to have them interview the director of the League of Innovations and our superintendent. So we're just taking the opportunity to have these students meet with some people that are just doing amazing things in education. And then we've had them come to our school. And so whenever that opportunity comes, we have them interview them and share out. And the kids are just owning it and super excited to celebrate their success And we have some things coming up this month that we're super excited for them to be a part of too. So this is just another way that we love sharing their creativity of others, great things that are happening in education is through this student podcast.
I think my favorite moment, we did a coding night one night at school, and the podcast kids came and they did a live podcast the whole night. And I loved that moment. I had to step away because we were super busy trying to do other things. So they truly were owning it. And when we came back and saw everything they were doing, it was incredible. They had learned how to run Audacity. They were checking the mics. They were going and getting people to interview, including their parents, which was really amazing. And so I just love seeing them take ownership and, seeing that creativity of theirs fly too.
Mm-hmm. All right. Want to talk about our Twitter Spaces?
Yes, go for it. I've talked a lot.
Okay. So we also, once a month, we host a Twitter Space. And this was kind of a new adventure for us this year. We wanted to explore Twitter Spaces. So if you've never gotten on a Twitter Space, we're going to actually have our next one. Usually they're the first Wednesday of every month, but right? Wednesday? Yes. So We're switching it up because of conferences and everything. We'll be out of town a lot over the next few weeks. So we're actually going to do it on the 7th of February. It's going to be on a Tuesday night. And because we haven't announced who the special guests are yet, so I'm not going to leak that out just yet, but the special guests are going to be in town with us on that particular night. And then we've got a lot of things going on for TCA and everything. So we're going to have it on February 7th. So we'd love for you to join. But what we do in this Twitter Space is we just celebrate different things that are happening, maybe things in schools, things that people are doing. And you can kind of see, we did one on an innovation in education, how to gamify. So we have just these rock star teachers. We had Kristen Brooks on. We had some people from Bottle Learning. We had some people from our district talking about Hispanic Heritage Month, and Laura Guzman, how she does an amazing job in our district, putting on just incredible events to celebrate that. And we had some of our good friends, Scott Bricker and Andrew Murphy, and we had some representative from Pick My Kids sharing about great things that are happening with school communication and keeping our kids safe. We also, our very first one was about Canva and creativity, ironically enough. And we had Tisha Richmond and John Lewis. So that was a great one. And you can go back in here and view any of the recordings. But Twitter Spaces has just been a fun opportunity for us to celebrate others, bring them on. It's just audio only, and we just have a great conversation. So I'll share the link to this too, so that you can go back and explore these, or hopefully you can join our next one. Okay, what else, Lee?
Let's see. Oh, will you show your card that you have there? Okay. I guess I should say, when Jenny and I first started together, we one of the things we started doing, we started a YouTube show because we wanted to highlight amazing teachers in our district and share what they were doing. And we also were finding that we had 20-something schools, and we also were finding that one teacher at one school would have a question, and then we'd go to another school and a teacher would have the same question. And so we were like, okay, we've got to figure out a way to like streamline communication and help answer these similar questions happening across the district. So we started a YouTube show highlighting teachers doing amazing things, and started sharing it out with our district. And then, everyone on Twitter and anyone that wanted to see different ways to solve different problems. And one of the things that came out of that were these little cards that we started sharing around the school. So we would pop into different teachers' classrooms. We would leave them just a little encouraging card that we made on Canva, just to say, you're amazing, and we love everything that you're doing in education. And so hopefully these will come back now, this new school we're at, but we haven't done it yet. So that's going to be fun.
It's so cute because I think we did this, 3 or 4 years ago? Like, it was a long time ago. Yeah. And my daughter was actually substituting in my older daughter was subbing in my son's class. And on the board in Miss Nisdo's room was this pinned up on the board. And she's like, Mom, did you give her this? And I'm like, yeah. And that was just so sweet to know that some of these teachers still have this. And we just want to be encouraging and, make sure that teachers know that we value them and appreciate them. And this is hard work. It's hard work that that everyone is out there doing. And we value their time and energy. And we know it's not easy. And so we just, if there's anything we can do to help celebrate the work that you all are doing, then that's what we want to do. So I think our time is out. We also, I'm going to put our YouTube in there so you can follow us. We're trying to get that back going, but TikTok, we're on TikTok too. We love going in interviewing teachers and sharing out great things. Or if we learn something from someone, Celie is like, oh my gosh, we're going to make a TikTok of that and share that out. So we love learning, we love sharing, and we would love to learn from you. So just definitely connect with us. And we're so excited, Mel, for the opportunity to be here today. And don't forget to go and be
a different kind of awesome.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mel.
Thank you so much, you two. That was amazing. It was great. I mean, I just dropped all those links in the chat, so hopefully everyone clicks on everything and starts getting even more inspired than they already are from like what you just shared. I think that was great. So thank you so much again for sharing out today. We do appreciate that, and see you a bit later. Bye for now. Okay, so our next presenter is Tim, and I'm going to bring him up now. Here we go. Welcome, Tim. Greetings.
Hey, Mel. How's it going?
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. So my name is Tim Belmont, everybody. I am a high school English teacher and a technology specialist based in New Jersey. And I'm going to share a little bit about how I celebrate creativity, mostly in my capacity as a teacher. So mostly sharing the creativity that my students have and they bring to the class. So in my capacity as an English teacher, I teach freshman English, and then I also teach public speaking. And so in those two different classes, I get a lot of opportunities for students to express the things that they are interested in different creative ways. So I wanted to start off by mentioning a couple of ways that when students create projects and they hand in assignments, how I can share their creativity with as many people as possible within our school. So one project that we do every year is I have students create a book cover to represent them. This is something that we do towards the beginning of the year. Usually it helps me get to know them. They get to share, again, things that they're passionate about, things that they like to do. And this originally started off as an activity that we did on paper, but as time went on and there were more technological options for us, now we do it digitally. They can use Google Slides, some opt to use a service like Canva, and then some, of course, do still use that paper book cover. But one of the challenges I had was the fact that when they were doing this digitally, they couldn't really share with each other very easily. There were some ways you could share a link. Services like Wakelet are great for that, but I wanted to bring it into the physical space. So what I ended up doing was I generated QR codes for their projects and I put them up in my classroom. And that way they could walk into the room and I gave them some time. They could take out their cell phone and they could go up to a random book on the wall and they could look at somebody else's book cover. It was a really great way, not only for the students to get to learn a little bit about each other, but also they could share their creative projects with each other in a unique setting. Something else that I do with my freshman students is I have them do a biography project. And with this, we go over things such as finding reliable sources, how to quote evidence, how to write support for evidence when you're doing a piece of writing. And then for the biography project, I tell them you can create whatever you want in order to express the ideas that you have and whatever person you want to explain to the class. And every year I give them a bunch of options. I say, you can make a poster, you can make a slideshow. But every year students, they are able to demonstrate the things that they love to do. And for example, what you're looking at right now is a student's project that he created in Minecraft. He did a biography of Michael Jordan, and he basically created all of the events within Minecraft. He put his evidence on different signs, and then we were able to share this with the class. So not only was he expressing the skills that we went over in English class, but then he also was able to show something that he personally knew how to do. And this blew my mind when I saw it. I had used Minecraft in the past, but this type of application I had heard about, but I hadn't really seen in process. So not only does he have the evidence on the signs within his project, but then he has different triggers. He built the different scenes that came up. And honestly, I'm just happy to be able to share that with all of you today because this is just absolutely, it blew my mind. And I had another student who created a project using Roblox, similarly represented some of the different events that happened. So before I play this video, those are some of the ways that I've tried to encourage creativity and then also celebrate it within my English class. But I also have the honor of teaching public speaking and also advanced public speaking. And in my advanced public speaking class in particular, we do a lot of podcasting. This has sort of developed over time where it's gone from sort of traditional presentations to more just focusing more on podcasting. And with this, I always try to encourage students to choose topics that they're passionate about. So it's sort of interesting because with the biography project, we sort of go over some of the skills and they choose the content. And then similarly here with the podcasting project, we go over some things like mannerisms, how to record, but then they choose things that they're interested in. So it always blows my mind. Again, students are showing their passion, the things that they're interested in. So for an example here, I had a student who ended up doing a podcast all about the history of video games. And him and some of his friends were able to show their creativity and interest in this topic. So I have about a minute excerpt I just wanted to share with all of you today.
Started off is with Mario, because that's like one of the most influential games in general. Everyone knows about it. It's literally the thing that saved video games in general. So, there's not much you could say about it. It was, most games at the time, they weren't very interesting. The video game industry was crashing, and it was going to go down under until Nintendo really came in with the NES and Super Mario.
I mean, one thing that a lot of people don't really talk about it is the graphical advancement. Atari 2600 games were really ugly. They didn't really have that much detail, but then Mario came out with all these vibrant colors. The skies look pretty realistic for the time. Very smooth animations on most sprites and stuff. Basically created the platforming genre as we know it today.
So with this project, the requirement was to record a 5-minute podcast. This student and some of his friends, they ended up recording for almost an hour. And it ended up, I learned so much about the student, the things that he was interested in. And then he went above and beyond with this project because the way he recorded it was different from what I had assigned. He ended up using Discord, which is a gaming, usually gaming using sort of visual or audio way to communicate when people are playing video games. And he ended up integrating that into his project. And with the podcast project, what we end up doing is we share within the class and within the school. So they're able to sort of share their passions with everybody in the building. And as I go on and I continue to do podcasting, my goal is to have that audience expand further and further. So those are just a couple of ways that my students, they show their creativity and how I'm celebrating it now. And I hope that I celebrate it throughout the school year. But I wanted to end by sort of zooming out a little bit, because I also try and take time to celebrate the creativity of not just students, and then in my capacity as a technology specialist, the creativity of other teachers in my building. But I try to bring this to my personal life as well. So, for example, just a couple of things I want to mention. One of my very good friends, Buzz, is in a band, and he is playing shows and he has concerts that he goes to. And I try to celebrate that. I try to encourage that as time goes on and support his endeavors. I also have a friend, Adrienne, who she is an artist, and she actually started taking pairs of pants and drawing on them as sort of an art project, and she's been sharing that out as well. On the far right here, one of my friends, Steve, actually ended up directing a skateboarding video, and he ended up having a premiere for it around where I live, and it was just posted on the Thrasher website, which is a huge, huge skateboard magazine. And so that creativity that he's doing is absolutely great. And then In the middle here, right here, this guy may look familiar. It's actually not me. I have a twin brother. His name is Steve. And recently, he won an Emmy Award for working on the graphics for the Olympics that had previously just passed. And his creativity has gone into his work life, and I know that it's affected him a lot. And I think it's important, especially outside of the classroom, just in our personal lives, if people around us are doing creative things, just to celebrate them, give them their flowers. And we would hope that people would do the same for us. So thank you so much, Mel, for having me today, and to all the other presenters. And have a great day, everybody. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Tim. That was pretty inspirational. Just about your brother after, I was like, oh yes, I remember you have a twin, and then look at what he's doing. It's really cool how you've been celebrating, really encouraging creativity, like whether it's for your students and, you're also talking about your personal life and not, I know us as educators, a lot of us, we're just like automatically just focus on our students or our colleagues, right? But then I really liked how you just took that zoom out sort of thing and then looking at, your personal life and family and that sort of thing. So do appreciate your shares, Jim.
Thanks so much, Mel.
No problem. So next we have Georgina. I'm going to bring her up from, her amazing place, the Hogwarts, and I will take myself down. Hold on. You have your screen. There you go. Well, have fun, Georgina. I'm sure people will enjoy.
Thanks for having me, Mel.
No problem.
Awesome. Well, good afternoon, as Mel said, all the way from Hogwarts. Super excited to learn about the creativity from all the people on this show and all the other volumes across the world. It's so exciting that we can explore the ways people are engaging with their communities, whether those be teachers, because you're an instructional coach, or whether you're a leader or a classroom teacher. Everybody is a creative leader, and I think that's one of the things that I would like to talk about today. So a lot of the people that came before celebrated different ways that they're celebrating creativity, but I really wanted to tackle today a little bit slightly from a different angle on creative leadership. And when we think about celebrating creativity with others, where do we start and why is that important? And is that equal? And so just taking a little bit of a seed drop and thinking about some food for thought on creativity. All right, so we can start, if that's okay with everybody. Feel free, if you want to participate, drop in the chat, or if you are joining on demand after the fact, definitely tune in. Please, if you have participated in this Creativity ACE Challenge from the Adobe Creative Educators, feel free to drop your link, drop your spaces where you have created your creative identity. And we would love to celebrate more of those. Be sure to also tag Mel, tag people from Adobe, tag each other, just to share the creative identity. Thanks, Tanya. That's awesome. Yeah, this was one of my favorite. I think this was potentially, although I'm sure people will correct me in the chat if not, the very first ACE challenge that came out, I think a year and a half ago. And there is an animated version as well. But we think about celebrating others, and we think about how do we start that journey? How do we present ourselves? How do we think about looking deep inside to find what we think to be creative? So take a minute. Creativity takeover. Yeah, that's right. So take a minute, drop in the chat if you do have a link to yours. It would be great to continue that celebration going. It was a great challenge indeed. Yes. So the first thing I want to drop for seeds is understanding why. Why is it important to celebrate creativity? And as a leader, sometimes it's really easy to give shout outs, right? If you're having meetings after school, if you're doing morning announcements over the PA system, depending on what your school environment looks like, obviously across the world, there are different ways that we can celebrate. And we've seen so many of them today. We've seen them in the other volumes that Mel has shared with, but really trying to understand why it's important to do so and what are our goals. Because if people don't actually know why we are celebrating them or why we want to take the initiative to celebrate a particular campaign, whether those are risks, etc., then maybe actually staff won't necessarily buy into it. So the point here when we're thinking about why we want to celebrate others is not just championing, but making sure that if that's a culture that we want to shift as education leaders across the community, that we help our staff to understand what we're doing and how we're bringing them along. So just a little food for thought about understanding what we're going to celebrate, why, and really thinking about the 5 W's. Many educators and leaders will share that we hope to lead with what we hope to see, right? And so the fruits of the celebration start always with the why. And reminded of one of my favorite books by Simon Sinek, Leading with Why. So definitely something to take a look at. Creating impact is the second item that I want to drop for food for thought. And really want to talk here about the importance of the impact that you want to create. So if you are thinking about creating impact, for example, by creating awareness about what creativity looks like, then how are we campaigning that as leaders across the school? If we want to take impact more with EdTech strategies and increase the amount of education technology that's being used in classrooms or across the school, then how are we going to campaign that? Sometimes it can be an overload, and so it's something really important to think about, is that if we're celebrating everything, are we overloading people in 2023 as we come in with so many things that we have access to? And will it be difficult for what we hope to inspire our community with an overload of things that they might feel they want to take on? And so definitely thinking about what are the impacts or goals that you want to have, but also thinking about once you've created that impact, okay, great, what are the tools and the strategies that we want to give to our teachers, to our students, to our communities, even to our families? And how are we going to support them with the training? And I think sometimes that's something we forget, here are the ed tech tools, great, off you go, or here's the training, you've had like an hour session, now off you go. But what about that ongoing development practice? If that's the impact we want to have, and we're thinking about celebrating creativity 10x, then what are the strategies we need to put in place? So just like awesome educators that are all on today's show know that in the classroom, we think backwards by designing. Well, as creative leaders, whether you're an admin or a teacher, it's the same thing. Whatever we want to celebrate creatively at the end, if that is the end product, then we want to make sure that we backwards by design to make sure teachers have the tools, the development, the training, but also the time and space to collaborate and connect through creativity. Awesome. And let me know in the chat if any of this resonates with you. If you've ever thought about things like these, whether you're in the classroom or you're thinking from a whole school perspective, are these things that you've thought about considering when thinking about creativity and equally thinking about celebrating them? Yeah, that's great. I love creativity too. As many of you may know from being connected across the globe. Okay, equality and celebration. This is an interesting one. So it would, I can imagine that everybody loves celebrating when something is different or something is unique. And potentially at the end of projects or at the end of lessons, we definitely want to try and celebrate everybody. But it's a really good, important reminder to make sure also when we're celebrating others, especially when we're in a classroom environment, that we're taking the time to celebrate everybody. That may not happen across an entire lesson, that everybody's work is obviously celebrated in each lesson, but you may consider it across the whole week. Are we celebrating the same pupils every time? Are we celebrating the same teachers every time? Or are we actually considering how everybody is getting a shout out across the school? So it's something really to consider. And the other part of the equality across the celebration is also where people are at across their learning and professional journeys. So your students that you're working with in the classroom, they may actually not all have finished the project or the learning task that was set for the day, right? So are we only celebrating the end product which is the learning outcome, or are we actually celebrating everybody and the progress they've made or the steps that they've led into? So just some food for thought there on making sure that we try to celebrate equally across the day, across the week, across the year. And this should be no surprise to everybody. The fourth one is celebrating risks. And so again, and I like to think about like my own personal journey just to share with everybody in case you didn't know. I'm on this epic journey to learn to illustrate since I'm not yet any type of professional. And the risk that I take is basically live streaming that illustration journey on Behance, and feel free to connect after to share the link. But it's not perfect illustrations. And when we think about learning, as you're all experts in education, we know that the projects that students are working through and teachers are developing are not necessarily going to be perfect end goals, right? And it's really important that each step of the process is celebrated. So the risks may not be the same for everybody. Not everybody's going to hop on a live stream. It might be that somebody tried to use a new tool, or somebody tried to use a new project or a new theme, or even just took time to go and observe how other people are actually thinking and using new ways. We think about instructional coaching and teachers going to visit each other's classrooms. So it's really, really important to make sure that we're celebrating the risks and not just the end goal. And finally is the creative process. So everybody's creativity process is different, as I'm sure many will agree in the chat. But what's really interesting and what's really important to think about is that everybody is at a different stage of their creative process. And if everybody's creativity is messy and all over the place, and some people may have organized creativity, for sure, we don't want to make sure we include all of it. But keeping that in mind, we want to make sure, again, that parts of the processes, and that's easy when you're doing things like project-based learning and you have like several weeks to achieve to the end unit. But what about when you're just doing a lesson? Are you stopping in the middle of the lesson to say, oh, wow, I really love this sentence, or do you want to share this out, or I love what you designed there, or oh my goodness, you solved this really amazing thing, or I really love the way you worked with your colleague today. Are we just celebrating products, or are we celebrating processes? The way students worked through a problem together is part of the creative problem solving that solves or concludes the project. And so thinking about not just badging or giving bonus points or rewards across your lesson or across the year for pieces of work, but actually different parts of the creative problem solving is something to consider as well, because then we're also encouraging the skills building that we know so much that students and educators need when they get out into the real world. So definitely the creative process will be really important. The next one, and the last piece before I hand it back over to Mel, is how, as education leaders, can we celebrate creative communities? And we heard that in the show a little earlier today. Steph talked about that through her district, and I really, really loved her little video snap. So shout out there. Jenallee, I hope I pronounced that right. If not, apologies. Shared out the cards, and there were so many different things shared today and in other volumes. And I wanted to add a couple of other small ideas. With badging, we want to think about, where does the badging go? So Steph had a great example where she celebrated with a teacher and it was done through video. But where else can the badges go? Can they be shared out on social media? So through Twitter or through Instagram or through LinkedIn? Or maybe you have a showcase and they're going to go in a display cabinet, or maybe it is a digital portfolio. And the digital portfolio is an ongoing portfolio that can span out, where you can have students and teachers a lot of these things I've done across my career, across schools in education. But one of my favorite things to do with badging is digital signage. So if you're an educator and not too sure what that is, usually involves screens across your school. May look like television screens. They're screens. They can be interactive, but usually are not. And basically, your marketing department at your school will put up like announcements or a branding to encourage people to join your school if you're not in state or etc. and independent. And so digital signage can be used for different things. But when we add celebration for educators and pupils, I remember sometimes we used to put coding projects that pupils did up there on digital signage too. And parents then and visitors who come to the school have the opportunity to celebrate the community as well. And at a very fast snapshot, everybody can see like what's going on and how your community is creative. So that is a great way to celebrate your staff. If your school has not explored digital signage, I highly recommend that for celebrating teachers, not just like what's on the menu for lunch today or we're having assemblies today, but equally check out what our community is doing creatively. So something to think about there. Also, end of the year award ceremonies. I've been to several of these. Not every school does it. Maybe yours does, maybe yours doesn't. But I want to drop that seed equally for education leaders to consider that at the end of the year, sure, absolutely, we're celebrating students, and we may have like student of the year or who's read the most or who's had the best results in volleyball, for example. But what about the teachers? You know, who's taken the most creative risk this year? Hopefully it's everybody, right? And maybe you can celebrate everybody, but having it in mind to have a little time during that end of the year ceremony where you're celebrating everybody to make sure that staff are included in that will go a really long way. And it shows that we're celebrating everybody in the community and not just some. So yeah, some great ideas to think about there. Also, Insta newsletters. So just a really quick shout out to Fusion Mags, a new initiative that Ivo, Hanan, and a few others put out on Instagram. And it really sparked with me. And I had a chat with somebody on my senior leadership team to talk about the same idea with school. And you know, leaders are often saying, especially this past year, how they're sending newsletters out, whether those are digital, whether those are flyers in the mail, whether those go home with pupils at the end of the day physically. And nobody has time to read them. And we know how busy life is, and especially if you're a busy parent, that can't happen. But how easy is it just to swipe and scroll with your phone over to the right or to the left? And so it's really interesting to think about like a powerful image, a powerful question, a few sentences, maybe a moving GIF or a small video as well in there, and thinking about the way you can celebrate staff through those Insta letters. They could be reels as well. It doesn't just have to sit as a post, but I was inspired that way. And I thought this would be a great thing to try with our school community. So if you haven't considered that, have a think about that as well. And it was interesting that Jenallee talked about the Twitter Spaces. That's actually last on my list today to consider, because I was thinking about Mel's question. We're coming on here today to talk about how are we celebrating others. And my Sunday Sparks Twitter Spaces, which I host every week on a Sunday, came last to my head, like just actually this morning when I was thinking about posting about Sunday Sparks for tomorrow and using spaces carefully. So I wrote Sunday Sparks there, but it's interesting to think about the creative spaces we have and where we can celebrate others who are just literally sharing their voice, sharing their ideas, sharing their thoughts, and making sure, again, going back to the idea of not necessarily celebrating the end product result, but celebrating the process, celebrating people just taking risks, taking the time to share their voice and share their ideas is great. Twitter Space is a great way to do that. There's also Clubhouse. There's lots of different audios. Podcast was mentioned earlier as well. So there's loads of ways there. But when we're thinking about communities and spaces for creative practice, it becomes easy to celebrate each other because you're together as a community. So I'll leave you on that thought, and watch out for Sunday Sparks on Twitter Spaces. Would love to see you guys all there tomorrow, 7 p.m. GMT, 11 a.m. PT, and I'll leave you to figure out any other time zones and to celebrate that. So the last thing, Mel's going to come on soon and probably thank all the speakers, but I would really love it as the last speaker if we could put our hands together digitally in the chat and make sure we give Mel a huge round of applause for taking this initiative to allow everybody to share the way that they celebrate creativity globally and bring people together to share that inspiration. I think Mel's probably leading by example for everybody as she shares this creative journey. So Mel, thank you to you. Lots of love in the chat. Thank you to putting this together, and hopefully, yay, there we go. And we'll hand it back over to Mel. So hopefully that's some good food for thought, guys. Celebrating creativity may be something that comes naturally, but hopefully there's some new ideas in there today and really thinking about the process of how we celebrate it. All right, Mel, you're up.
Thank you, Georgina, for sharing. As always, inspiring others, as everyone else has. I really do appreciate everyone here for sharing. So you mentioned, well, I'm going to bring everyone up here. So there's Tim, okay. And we have the Jenallee here too. Fantastic. So the ending part today is basically I'm going to ask you guys if you want to share something like a final word. Obviously, Georgina, you just spoke, but if you still want to share something, you can. And then I would do a thanking thing, and then I'll share my screen and tell people stuff. Yes, but yeah, so you can choose who wants to go first, who wants to have a final word, final share for whoever's here today.
I mean, we can, I guess. Yeah. I just want to echo, thank you, Georgina and Tim. Oh my goodness. I loved hearing both of your ideas and ways of celebrating. But I definitely want to echo Georgina and say, thank you, Mel. I think this is such a wonderful space for sharing creativity, and you're definitely paving a way for positivity to be put and inspiration to be put back into this space. I'm definitely inspired after hearing all the speakers today. So thank you so much for hosting.
Definitely. And we love that you are so great about, joining others. Like we know you've popped into our events and things too. And it's just so nice to just be a community that everyone supports each other. So it's so nice to spend time with you guys. And we can't wait to see some of you in person soon.
Yeah, this has been like the perfect way to start my Saturday this weekend, hearing all the great ideas from Georgina, Jenallee, and Mel. Thank you so much for facilitating all of this. It's energizing. It's just a great way I'm ready for the day now. I'm ready for next week, and just looking forward to continuing to celebrate creativity. And as Jenny, you said, next week, FETC, you'll be seeing some people there in person. It's going to be great. So yeah, thanks again. This has been so amazing.
I'll add a last piece. Tim mentioned about bringing in, your personal, and sometimes we separate that between the professional and the personal, and we never know. I guess my last tip for everybody is we never know where we're going to take our next spark of inspiration. And so sometimes sharing the things that we do in our personal life, because that is part of our creative process. When we start to create, we bring everything that we've got going on in our lives to the table, and so do our students in the classroom and our teachers. So take those risks to share it out. And I want to say Mel is doing some amazing international traveling, which she shares on Instagram, and I love her journey because it makes me think about the next parts of the world that I want to go visit. And because she's there and we're seeing it through her eyes and through her lens. And I think that's really key. Anybody can go on Google now. You guys all know how much I love Google, but anybody can go on Google and search for images about where people are traveling in the world. But when we actually see it through somebody else's eyes, we're seeing how they perceive the world. And it's quite an inspiring journey. So you can check her travels out on her Instagram feed. Thanks, Mel.
Okay, well, thank you. remember, like, this doesn't happen without you guys. You know, if no one puts up their hand to say, yeah, we want to share out, then like the event doesn't exist. So the fact that you guys said that, yeah, we have something to share, that's why this is running. Like, without that, then this wouldn't happen. So I do appreciate you guys sharing that out. So so if people do want to follow the people that were presenting today, obviously they did share their how to contact them, and you know, you can see in their names they have their little Twitter handles or whatever, but it's here again. So if you want to take a screenshot of it to follow them later, or just check out their handles in their names, that is fine too. And just to tell you that the next couple of volumes coming up are in about a month. So in February, this time it's on a Sunday. And then probably the final volume will be volume 10, which will be in March. And that will probably end the Celebrating Creativity series, unless something else happens after that. But anyway, yeah. So yes, again, thank you to everyone. Really appreciate you all for joining in today. And if you are joining live, thank you so much for joining live and participating in the chat. Or if you're watching the replay, thanks so much for watching the replay. Feel free to share it out to inspire others. And yeah, thank you so much. So we'll say bye and thank you for today. Bye.